Hey guys, welcome back to Genealogy and Chronology. Today we are back to Middle Earth and we will be discussing about the complete timeline of the Palantiri. I post 2 new videos each month concerning history, chronology and lore. Consider subscribing to my channel and also follow me on Reddit to find the high resolution copy of this chart. Please check out my Middle Earth series which has 12 videos going over family trees of almost every major royal house from Tolkien's Legendarium and also the complete chronology of the One Ring of Sauron and the complete chronology of Silmarils. Let's move on to today's topic. The Palantiri were basically smooth spherical crystals used for communication and to see things from afar. These were crafted between years of the trees 1250 and 1500, quite possibly by Fëanor himself. The substance or material used in the crafting of these seeing stones is not known, and it is also unclear how many of these were crafted by the Noldor. But we know about 8 individual seeing stones. The size of these stones varied from one stone to another. The chief of all the seeing stones was the Master Stone of Avalon. Nothing concerning the Palantiri is written by Tolkien between Years of the Trees and late Second Age. It is quite likely the stones were in the possession of the Noldor during much of the first 2 ages. It is also unclear if these seeing stones were brought by Fëanor or his sons to Beleriand following the flight of Noldor. We will start discussing about each individual stone, starting with the Master Stone. I will be focusing only on the timelines and events concerning the seeing stones and won't be going into any details like how these seeing stones communicated with each other. It is unclear how many seeing stones were crafted by Fëanor and how many of these were left behind in Valinor following the flight of Noldor to Middle-earth. Since a few Noldor decided to stay behind in Valinor, it can be assumed that the Noldor left behind a few seeing stones to communicate with their kin. The chief of all the seeing stones was the Master Stone of Avalon, which was held in the Tower of Avalon. This is the only seeing stone that we know about which remained in Valinor throughout all 4 ages. In late Second Age, when the Kingsmen banned the Eldar from coming to Numenor, an unknown number of seeing stones were given to Amandil, who was father of Elendil and also the last lord of Andúni. Elendil and his sons took 7 of these seeing stones which Amandil had received and brought them to Middle-earth following the sinking of Numenor. Elendil took 3 of these Palantiri and installed them in his realm of Arnor. One was installed in the Tower of Elostarion. The other 2 seeing stones were installed on Amansul and Annuminas. Isildur and Anarion installed 4 of the remaining Palantiri in Gondor. The chief of the 7 seeing stones was installed in Osgiliath, capital of Gondor, and 1 Palantir was installed each in Minas Anor and Minas Ithil. The last seeing stone was installed in the Tower of Orthanc in Isengard. As the Second Age concluded with the defeat of Sauron and with the deaths of Elendil and Anarion, Isildur briefly was the sole guardian of all the seeing stones of Middle-earth except the Elostarion stone, but Isildur perished in the disaster of Gladden Fields, after which the realms in exile split into 2 independent kingdoms. Arnor was ruled by descendants of Isildur and Gondor was ruled by the descendants of Anarion. We will first discuss about the seeing stones of Arnor. The Elostarion stone could not communicate with any other seeing stones of Middle-earth. It was set in a way in which only westward of the Tower Hills could be gazed upon towards the Master Stone. Hence, it is likely the kings of Arnor and later the kings of Arthedain never really used it. It is also likely the elves of Middle-earth and especially of the Grey Heavens could be the ones who guarded this stone. No significant event occurs concerning the Elostarion stone throughout the Third Age. In year 1409 of Third Age, the Tower of Amansul was destroyed by the forces of the Witch King, but the Amansul stone was saved and taken to Fornost. In year 1974 of Third Age, Fornost, capital of Arthedain, was sacked by the forces of the Witch King. Arvedui, who was king of Arthedain, took the Amansul stone and the Annuminas stone with him to north. Next year, Arvedui, last king of Arthedain, passed away. Amansul stone and Annuminas stone were both lost in the Ice Bay of Orochel, as the ship that carried Arvedui and the Palantiri sunk in the Ice Bay. Moving on to the seeing stones of Gondor, the chief of all the 7 seeing stones of Middle-earth was the Osgiliath stone, which was also the largest of the 7. Unfortunately, it was also the first stone to be lost in 1437 following the sack of the capital city of Osgiliath by the rebels during the Kinstrife of Gondor. The Dome of Stars which housed the Osgiliath stone was destroyed and the Seeing Stone was lost in the river Anduin. Coming to Ithil stone, it stayed in the possession of the kings of Gondor until the year 2002 of Third Age, when the Witch King and the Nazgul took the city of Minas Ithil, and with that, the Ithil stone came under the possession of Sauron. Sauron would own this Seeing Stone for more than 1000 years until he was defeated following the destruction of the One Ring. The Ithil Stone was likely lost or destroyed when Sauron's fortress of Barad-dûr, which housed the Ithil Stone, was also destroyed as Sauron lost all his power. Moving on to Orthanc Stone, it was in the guardianship of the kings of Gondor until 2050 of Third Age, when the line of kings died out and the stewards of Gondor guarded the Seeing Stones. In year 2759 of Third Age, Steward Beren handed over the Tower of Orthanc to Wizard Saruman, and thus the Orthanc Stone came under the guardianship of Wizard Saruman. It is unclear from when Saruman actually started using the Palantir, but by year 3000 of Third Age, Saruman was corrupted by Sauron through the Orthanc Stone. In year 3019 of Third Age, after the defeat of Saruman by Rohan and the Ents, Saruman was imprisoned in the Tower of Orthanc along with Grima. Grima threw the Orthanc stone down from the Tower of Orthanc to hit Saruman, but the stone missed its mark and fell to ground. Gandalf took this stone and gave it to Aragorn II, who used it to reveal himself to Sauron. Aragorn continued to own the Seeing Stone into the Fourth Age. Coming to Arnor Stone, it too was in the guardianship of the kings of Gondor until 2050 of Third Age, after which the stewards of Gondor guarded the Seeing Stone. In 2980s of Third Age, Denethor II started using the Arnor Stone, something which no previous steward dared to do so. As the siege of Gondor raged on, steward Denethor committed suicide. Denethor was holding the Arnor Stone when he committed suicide on the funeral pyre. Later, only people of exceeding power could see anything in the Arnor Stone other than two flaming hands. After the conclusion of the War of the Ring in year 3021 of Third Age, Círdan removed the Elestarion Stone from the Tower of Elestarion and took it back to the Blessed Realm on the White Ship. With the end of the Third Age, only two Seeing Stones remain in Middle-earth, both of which were in the possession of Aragorn II, and later his descendants continued to guard these two stones. I hope you all liked this video of the complete timeline of the Palantirs. Be sure to join me next month as I will be discussing another interesting topic from Middle-earth. You can watch the Middle-earth playlist, which has 12 videos going over every major royal house of Middle-earth and also the complete chronology of the One Ring and the Silmarils. All my charts are freely available on Reddit and Twitter. If you like my work, consider supporting me on Patreon, or you can buy me a coffee by scanning this code. Please like the video and share it with your Tolkien friends and family. To view the high resolution copy of this chart, please visit my Reddit. Thank you.